I'm joined by David Worthington and Jill Peel. They are the Managing Director and Creative Director, respectively, of 10 Associates. The company is one of the UK's finest brand and design consultancies with a brilliantly blunt English way of doing things. David and Jill design brand identities and build brand strategies from development to activation. Driving and supporting their clients to brand achievement is an obsession for them. David and Jill, if you guys are ready, I will hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Right, hello to all my fellow TAB members from around the world. We're here today talking to you from a most beautiful part of the United Kingdom called Yorkshire. Some of our customers refer to our head office as a magic box in the forest. I'm here today with Jill Peel, my fellow business partner and one of the UK's leading brand experts. Today we're going to help you gain some insight into the power of branding, or the power of 10, as we like to refer to it. As branding experts, we thrive on knowledge before assumption. To help unlock this knowledge and find the DNA of any business, big or small, we engage our famous brand school process for all of our customers. It's a bespoke workshop that defines the what, how, and the why you do business. I'm going to hand you over now to Jill, who is the branding genius behind 10 Associates. She's responsible for adding millions of pounds to our customers' bottom line by always putting fantastic design at the heart of their business.
Hello everybody. Right, so this is a bite-sized brand school workshop. Just to give you a little flavour of how we approach this programme. Obviously it would be for the specific business, but we sort of dropped TAB in here for today to sort of give you a greater understanding of how it comes to life. So essentially, if you went through brand school with us, what would you expect? Well, certainly by the end of it, you would have a greater understanding of branding. We like to demystify some of the terminology along the way, but it is all about gaining clarification and enlightenment of what your brand stands for. Brand school is about helping you develop one of your most important assets, your brand, and developing the equity, real equity in the brand for your business. So before we start, please pay attention in class. We've just got a little video to get us into the mood.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
So that was a little video, but we think that's really lovely because obviously it's an advert for Transport for London, but it's all about looking for things that you never ever thought were there, and that's what we try and do. It's very easy to get blinkered as a business, so we try and cut through that a little bit and help you discover the magic, really. Another little quote just to get us into the frame of mind. Leave the beaten tracks occasionally and dive into the woods. Every time you do so, you will be certain to find something that you have never seen before. And that's what we really encourage for all the people who take part in brand school. And another little quote, which we just think is really, really relevant for today. This was actually a quote from several years ago at the start of the global recession, but we think it's still relevant, like I say, for today. So the future of the UK rests not on its creative industries, but on the creativity of its industry. And we think that's completely right, and we absolutely encourage creativity for everybody who we work with, and creative thinking. So we'll start straight away with what is a brand? So you'll see the first quote is from Richard Branson, extremely well-known gentleman. Good brands reflect the histories of the time and the group of people that made them. They cannot be copied, they cannot be recycled. David Ogilvy, the guy below, godfather of advertising as I like to call him, once described a brand as the intangible sum of a product's attributes. Its name, its packaging, its price, its history, its reputation, and the way it's advertised. And I think that's a really sort of good place to start. A very quick slide about demystifying the terminology. Quite entertaining, this one. So, marketing is coming up with the idea that we want to tell everybody about what is the message. So, for example, here, I'm a great lover. Secondly, so once we've got that idea, when you start the advertising, it's about repeating that same message. So it will resonate with people. People need to hear the same message 17 times at least before it goes in. Then we rely on PR to go out there and tell the stories around that platform. So, trust me, he's a great lover. But when we get to brand, and if we've done a really great job, this is, do you know what? I hear you're a great lover. So they've already got a perception in their mind about what your brand is about. And once we get to that point, we're in a pretty good place. We think brand is absolutely about reputation, and we think it is about the personality that you wrap that reputation in. So we have come up with we call them the 3 C's, and we think to be a great brand, you have to be the following. You have to be absolutely clear, you have to be consistent, and you have to be charismatic. So obviously, to be clear, you have to be absolutely focused in what you do as a business. Everybody needs to get it. You, obviously, your customers, investors, every stakeholder, every single stakeholder who's going to touch your brand needs to understand it, because if there's any confusion, you will lose them. You have to be consistent in the way you manage your brand, and the more consistent you are with your brand, the more it will resonate with your customers. We're going to do a little bit more about these points moving forward. And finally, it has to be charismatic, which is all about defining and using both the emotional and functional components of your business, which absolutely reflect your brand and engage with the customers. And it's this charisma that is the difficult thing, but this is what we absolutely create when we're working with brands and business. It's not about the logo. Obviously, the logo is important, and logos are used as shorthand devices for people to sort through things. But a brand is much deeper than that. It runs right through the business, focused outwards from a marketing point of view, but it's absolutely a reflection of what's inside of the business. And it is about, you and what you believe in, and it's an honest reflection of that. We think it's about the big idea, and you might have noticed this image at the front of the presentation. This is from our playground at the office. And we believe in it so much we've sort of put it up in lights on the wall. But once you have this big idea, everything else stems from it. It makes the job a lot easier. The big idea is the brand promise. It should encapsulate everything that you stand for and makes you different. And it ties everything together, from the way you answer the telephone to the way you do your advertising to the way that, every person is a reflection of the brand, and it has to connect like that. And we think it's, the idea we put at the heart of everything we do. And we do a whole piece of work about multi-level storytelling. So once we put the idea in the middle of that, then we can tell the stories around that, which really start to resonate with the customer. A couple of examples of big ideas of brands you will have heard of. Ikea, which was all about the democratisation of design. Design is for everybody and not design snobs. Great idea, really successful business of its time, and really sort of depends on that philosophy today. And the Easy Group, from flying to eating pizza, let's make everything as accessible as possible. and they want to offer more value for less. And to give you a little idea about their brand values, and you may argue that some of these aren't reflected in the way that the service is offered, but their brand values are great value, taking on the big boys, and it's for the many, not the few, relentless innovation, keeping it simple, keeping it entrepreneurial, making a difference to people's lives, but being honest, open, caring and fun. We work a lot with businesses on creating genuine brand values or genuine brand behaviours, because they have to be more than words. They have to be, work really hard to bring that brand to life. So we'll just start with Charismatic, and we're going to do a bit more about Charismatic and consistency today. So starting with that one, I just want to do a little bit about another great brand that everybody will have heard of, BMW. So their strapline, their positioning is the ultimate driving machine. So that is made up of two components. Also, you've got the emotional pull there. It's all about being the ultimate, this aspirational purchase. Nothing is better than being the ultimate, but it is a driving machine. It's functional. Yeah, it's German engineering, but those two things make up a complete story. And a strong brand needs to have both. And in some ways, the emotional bit is the most important bit. A little bit of narrative, current narrative from BMW, I think you'll find really interesting. I'll just read this little sentence out. So this is from a little current campaign that they're working on. I'll say a little, but multi-million-pound campaign. So BMW, do we build cars? Yes and no. If BMW merely built cars, would there be clubs on every continent conceived in our honour? If we just built cars, would the letters BMW be searched 12,000 times per hour on the web? And if we just built cars, would there be 500 blogs and websites discussing our work? Would we hold a place in the Louvre and be embraced by artists and held up as an icon? No, we don't just build cars. We build joy, perfection and vision, and like no other car company in the world. So you can see this really strong emotional pull through. And yes, they do talk sometimes about, 16 valve engines and all the latest emission technology, but often it's that emotional pull, it's that feeling you get when you drive a BMW, that it's the thing that sustains the brand, not necessarily the function of the parts that go with it. Another nice little example of that, another car brand, not BMW, but this is a different feeling of emotion. I think you'll agree that that is a really powerful advert. Very, very little narrative, one line at the end. But again, it's all about that feeling. And even if you're not sort of a car fanatic, I think you'll feel, it's like the Formula One things, the hair goes up on the back of your neck once you hear that roar of the car. Very, very clever, cost-effective advert as well. Still in this whole emotional, charismatic area of brand school, John Lewis, great British brand. Their position is never knowingly undersold since 1925, but these guys absolutely have the emotional connection nailed. We call, they have clicks and bricks, they work in store and online, but this is one of their most successful campaigns.
kill with her smile, she can wound with her eyes. She can ruin your faith with her casual lies. And she only reveals what she wants you to see. She hides like a child, but she's always a woman to me. She can lead you to love, she can take you or leave you. She can ask you the truth, but she'll never believe. She'll take what you'll give her as long as it's free. Yeah, she feels like a thief, but she's always a woman to me. She's frequently kind, and she's certainly cruel. But she can do as she pleases, she's nobody's fool. And she can be convicted, she's earned a degree. And the most she will do is throw shadows at you, but she's always a woman to me.
I don't know if any of you have seen that particular advert. I just think it's a brilliant example of, yes, John Lewis sell everything from teacups to outfits to furniture, but that advert doesn't say any of that in an obvious way. It just puts it in a really emotional pull-through. Brilliant, brilliant advert. And we like to say that you've just experienced a masterclass in emotional manipulation in 91 seconds. But it is worth noting that although it did cost £16 million to make, the online sales increased by approximately 40% within a month of the TV campaign. So a phenomenal return on investment, fantastic. And finally, this is our personal favourite. It's a little bit not politically correct, and it is from 1970s, 1980s. But it is still voted as one of the top 10 adverts of all time. So I hope you enjoy this one.
Happiness is a cigar called Hamlet, the mild cigar.
I hope you enjoyed that. We just think it's brilliant. And this, well, I would call it a genius, because you've got the happiness, which is the emotion. It's a cigar, that's what it is, and it's called Hamlet, and it's the brand name. Genius. And I would sort of challenge everybody who's listening to this today to try and do that with their business. So one word, emotion, what you do, and the brand name. It's a really clever challenge. One word. Okay, right, moving on. So Subway. So, you know, BMW don't just do cars and, you know, everything that John Lewis do. So I don't know whether you are aware with Subway that if you work at Subway, you don't just serve food. You serve fresh, healthy food, and they train you to become a sandwich artist. So when you make a sandwich, you're not just making something that's good for you, you're making a sandwich that looks great and tastes great too. So you might argue that Subway is a good example of consistency and all that type of thing, but even through a brand like that, they're pulling the emotion through. So we wanted to push it a little bit further. So the next slide is a little bit of narrative about Tab. So if we were going to create and pull through the emotion for Tab, it may sound something like this. So, at the Alternative Board, we don't just offer advice and provide strategic guidance, we offer a true alternative What makes us different? Just ask our members, the lucky ones, the wise ones, the ones who found a better way. In this world of business, our challenges are great. The pressures are growing and work-life balance is out of kilter. But take heart, you are not alone. TAB, the alternative board, together we'll achieve business brilliance. Sometimes there is no alternative to go and seek a collective where immeasurable and occasionally magic things happen. TAB, where there truly is no substitute for experience. So you can see where we're going. We're trying to pull out, this brilliant list of all the services that TAB offer and as a great collective. But we want that rallying call, that real sort of pull on the heartstrings. Okay, guys. So we'll jump back to what is a brand. So here we have Stelios of the Easy Group, who says your brand is created out of customer contact and the experience your customers have of you. Absolutely right. You are the face of the brand. One major retailer had a full-length mirror that all its staff passed as they left the canteen to go into the store. Above the mirror was a sign saying, "This is what the customer sees," to draw their attention to the importance of thinking about the tangible cues customers are presented with as a representation of the brand. It may seem a bit obvious, but just to remind everybody every day, you are the face of the brand. Pret a Manger go one stage further, and they have a set of Pret behaviours instead of brand values, and they use these behaviours for all their recruitment, their what is it when you, I can't think of the word, when they go through appraisals, there's the word. So they literally have the biggest secret shopping fraternity in the country, and they go around all the Prets constantly, and every staff member is judged on smiles, which you may think is a little bit forced, but actually it comes across really genuine, really successful brand, and they've actually just opened the Pret Academy in London to really sort of genuinely pull people into the Pret way of doing things. So we talk about all these big brands. Is it really that important that businesses embrace branding? Well, obviously you can tell that we think it's absolutely imperative. Yes, because if you get it right, these are really important points. A brand can absolutely add value to what you offer as a business. It can help you stand out in a competitive market, and boy, do we need that. It can help build relationships, loyalty, repeat business and referral. A brand is sustainable when product features and services can be copied, and a brand attracts good calibre, like-minded employees. And, for all of you guys out there who are, in the middle of talent attraction and trying to keep the best people, get the best people, your brand plays a huge part in that. And guess what, guys? People will pay more for a brand. I think Rodney Fitch, a brand guru, summed it up the best for me. Only one brand can be the cheapest. Everybody else has to find another way, and that is absolutely true. Unless you are the pound shop, everybody else has to find a really compelling story. A great example of that is if Coca-Cola were to lose all of its production-related assets in a disaster, the company would survive. By contrast, if all consumers were to have a sudden lapse of memory and forget everything related to Coca-Cola, the company would go out of business. They can build 100 factories, but they can't build, 100 years worth of brand advocacy overnight. In fact, Coca-Cola's biggest challenge at the moment is finding new territories, because I think they've touched every part of the globe. So we just thought it was nice to drop this in, because even though we've been discussing brands so far like Coke and BMW and Pret, very well-known brands, we take businesses through brand school that aren't big household names. Yes, we do household names, but we also do smaller businesses, SMEs, and the same principles apply. And we did a brand school. With a company in Sheffield who make cardboard boxes. We were like, well, how can we make that emotional? So we just flipped it on its head and we said, okay, it's not the box, it's what's inside that counts. And all those wonderful things that you transport in the box safely without costing money, extra additional costing money, is the story. And we actually ended up using that as the platform. So incredibly powerful once you get it right. Clear, consistent, charismatic, even for a box. So what is a brand? Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, He says what they say about you when you're not in the room. Very clever. Your brand is not what they say about you, it's what Google says about you. And we all know the challenge of Google rankings, etc., etc. The stronger the brand and the storytelling, the better Google responds. A little bit about consistency. We call ourselves a brand police here, because the best brands have a consistency that absolutely is built up by the people in the business. You have to understand what your brand stands for, because with understanding comes recognition, from that becomes familiarity, and from that comes confidence and trust. And once you have all that, people will buy from you and keep on buying. Little quote to underpin that. This is from an 18th century philosopher. All the ropes of the royal fleet, from the strongest to thinnest, are braided that a red thread travels through all of them, and you cannot remove it without untying all of them. Even the smallest fragment will still allow you to recognise that the rope belongs to the crown. So just think of the thread that runs through your brand and your business, and is it consistent? We call it the stick of rock theory. Could a stick of rock anywhere and it should say the same thing, consistent all the time. And you know, you've heard of business to business, you've heard of business to consumer, business to employee, business, you know, B2E is about how, you know, great brands are built from the inside out. You know, Interbrand, fantastic agency in London. You know, brands need to put the culture at the heart of the business strategy if they're to flourish or even survive. If you don't get it right on the inside, your brand will stumble and fall on the outside, regardless of how innovative or engaging your external marketing activity might be. And that's why we take everybody through brand school, every single stakeholder, as much as possible. Build a culture, build a brand, and absolutely we'll build a business. The greatest brands are delivered by the people who live and breathe them every day, and they really need to understand the DNA of the brand. I can't talk about this, we haven't the time to go into this in any great detail, but this simple slide is the DNA of a brand. So you have the people and behaviour. You have to understand people and behaviour, places and spaces where they're going to see your brand, how you're going to communicate with them, and obviously the products and services that you offer. Very, very quick little video about people and behaviour, especially when you're wanting to change behaviour. This is brilliant. You can see that was an initiative from Volkswagen, but a brilliantly clever way of thinking, how can we change perception? But to truly understand your customer, you have to get inside their heads and understand their behaviour and the triggers. You know, the branding has to be a claim of distinction or a promise that can be delivered. There's no point coming up with a promise that you can't deliver. It has to be absolutely truthful. The great Coco Chanel once said, in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. And trying to find that difference is really tricky. I wanted to keep this slide in. We haven't got time, unfortunately, to go through it in detail, but I would recommend that if you go on TED Talks and look at the Simon Sinek video about the golden circle, It's brilliant. It's about how to understand your difference by understanding why you do what you do as a business and as a brand. So it goes beyond the commercials, because obviously why you do what to do is to make money, but obviously you've got to find a bigger purpose, and this is that purpose that people will buy into. And we're not going to talk here about beautifully designed brand marks like Apple. That isn't what this is about. Obviously we create those and the story around it, but it's understanding more than that. So guys, we've hopefully given you a little starter for 10 today. Maybe you understand a little bit more how important a brand is and the potential power it can give to your business, really from an equity point of view, how it connects with customers and that emotional connection that provides that lasting impression and differentiates you. So I hope you've enjoyed that starter for 10, and I'll just pass back to David.
Thank you, Jill, that was fabulous. And just one final thought. I'd like you all to think about your current business brand mark and ask yourselves these simple questions. Number 1, do you know the personality of your brand? Number 2, does it have real equity? 3, does it reflect your services? 4, does it reflect your people? 5, does it engage with your audience? And finally, 6, is your brand a 10 out of 10? So if you answer either no or don't know to any of these questions, then feel free to drop me a line, as we're open for business and would love to work with like-minded tab businesses from around the world. We've also made available a downloadable PDF that we refer to as a thought piece, and it's called Why Brand Experience Should Be Top of Your To-Do List. It's very thought-provoking, and if you're still listening to this webinar, it's a must-read. So I'd like to say thank you all again for listening today. It's been great to talk to you all. So now it's over to you, and do you have any questions? So I think it's back over to Julie.
Yes, so I actually did have a question. You know, if you're a company that is just starting out, or, you know, maybe you want to do completely overhaul and do a rebranding, what is step 1 for those companies in terms of, you know, building their brand?
Well, I guess, depending on where you are on the journey, whether you're, like you say, whether you're wanting a rebrand or you've got a business idea and you haven't even got a name, we can sort of jump in at any of those points. And really the best thing to do is to just contact us. We have, you know, not everybody, it's not a one-size-fits-all. You know, it's not a case of, oh, let's just do a logo and everything, you know, and business will come to us. You know, the world, it doesn't work like that. It's about creating real resonance and real sort of powerful stories that connect, but anything from coming up with a new brand name to helping you sort of prioritise the services in a business, you know, Brand School can sort of fit all that.
Okay, and so Ken had asked about the Hamlet commercial. He didn't really quite understand, you know, why you guys thought it was so powerful, and maybe that could be a difference between American culture or British culture. But would you mind kind of diving in a little bit into why you really, that one stood out to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it is quite a British thing, and it's quite nostalgic. But it's from a construct point of view. It's very, very simple. It's beautifully filmed. Every person who sees it, or nearly everybody who sees it, will smile, if not laugh out loud. And we think humour's a great way to sell things. Humour's a wonderful human emotion. And the fact, I mean, it was part of a series of adverts, but we just think it's lovely at the end. I mean, it's probably something that people can relate to as well. You know, we've all been in photo booths and it hasn't gone quite to plan. And the fact that that guy's there and he's got, you know, he's not a particularly attractive guy and he's got his comb over and things like that. But it's just really the whole story, and the fact is that you're saying, you know, it doesn't matter what happens in life. If you smoke a cigar, you're going to be happy, which isn't maybe quite right, but it's the sentiment. It's the sentiment and how memorable it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
And yeah, do you guys work with companies outside the UK?
Yes, we work with companies all over the world. I mean, with Skype and FaceTime and
Google Hangouts.
Google Hangouts, yeah, the world has become a smaller place as far as branding is concerned. And we do like to think from Britain and the UK, we are kind of quite aligned to Europe and America as well. So we do have experience of countries from all over the world. Speaking English obviously helps a lot.
We several of our clients are global clients, even if a couple of them are British manufacturers but sell around the world. And it's a really interesting thing that even though the big idea will still sit at the top of the strategy, that the storytelling might change slightly around the world for the different audiences, because it's all about relevance. If it's not relevant to your customer, it's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, we absolutely love working with global businesses. We find it a really sort of exciting platform.
And that's where the brand school comes in, because obviously being Jill and I both English, so knowledge before assumption. So brand school is a great platform for us to gain knowledge from cultures all around the world. So that's imperative.
Sure, yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay, perfect. And if you do have any other questions, please type them in real quick. Also, I wanted to remind everyone there is a handout. It's a PDF format, so if you are interested, be sure to download that. It will also be in the email that we send after the webinar.
Yes.
And you can check out all of our previous BOSS webinars on demand by visiting our website at the link on at www.thealternativeboard.com/events. And at the same place, you can actually register for our September session, which will discuss new rules regulating overtime. So thank you guys, everyone. I don't think we have any more questions. Thanks for joining today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, yep, wonderful. Okay, have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Okay,
Brilliant.
thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.